You are Locked On Hawks Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Locked On Hawks Postcast, your home for the best Atlanta Hawks talk. It's local insight you can't get anywhere but here at Locked On. I'm your host, Tenitra. Batiste. Alongside me is NBA and college basketball analyst DeShaun Tate. The Locked On Hawks Postcast is also part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So we finally saw do or die tonight, and we will discuss why. And when you do something only Allen Iverson did, we gotta talk about that too. But first, let's talk takes on a 133-109 beatdown of Brooklyn tonight. Oh my goodness. DeShaun, your take was pure and simple, that it was pure domination, period.
It's like a whole different team, Tenitra. It's like and you know what? And if we can see such things, and I get it, I have to preface things by saying it is the Brooklyn Nets, and it is a Brooklyn Nets without Cam Thomas, and we already know the moves that they've made ever since, moving around Harden and Durant, whatever, Kyrie, that it just hasn't been the same team since. But this is also a team that has beaten the Atlanta Hawks recently, believe it or not, considering the fact that this is snapping the streak of 6 consecutive losses at Barclay Center, in addition to the fact that they have leading into tonight, lost 11 of their last 12 at the Barclay Center. I think that it says something to the fact that they went out there and did what they're supposed to do. Some teams are still playing this late into the season and yet still on the ropes, not doing what they're supposed to do against the teams that they're supposed to do it against. So listen, I mean, the Hawks, were dominant. I'm not sure I've seen a performance like that. I definitely don't think I've seen one where they just clearly look like they were just really in sync in rhythm. It looks like the way they were playing, it looks like guys are hanging out off the floor on a regular basis. It ain't like guys are clicked up like everybody's friends, and they look like they were having fun out there. And when you grow up playing this game, they teach you at a very young age, yes, it is important to win. Right, because everybody wants to be competitive, and that's the reason that we played the game. But you also have to be fun playing the game. And there weren't always times where I felt like this team has had a lot of fun playing, especially after Jalen Johnson went down with an injury. But they just look like they're having a lot of fun, and they look connected again. And I haven't seen them this dominant as they were supposed to be so far this year. And to be honest, even going back before this year, I'm not sure the last time, which was, I have to go back years at this point to where I've seen them put on a dominant performance, no matter who the other team, the opposition had on the floor at that time.
Yeah. And I think one thing that we saw with them was them setting the pace. And of course, Larry Nance Jr. is still out for the Hawks, but he was on the TV broadcast tonight.
Yeah, he
and one
was.
of the things that he noted, and it was kind of interesting.
He was good.
It's kind of interesting. He might have a career. We might know where his career goes after this one ends. But yeah, he made a note of the fact that the Hawks were trying to speed things up early and kind of dictate the flow and the pace of the game. And that's what we saw out of them tonight that we wished we would have seen out of them from the Magic earlier on, because remember, they did make it a game late. It was just too late. Yep. So I like the fact that they came out of the gates understanding we don't know which Brooklyn Nets team we're going to get, because the Brooklyn Nets team that played them in October played them to just a 4-point win by the Hawks. The Brooklyn Nets team they played just a few weeks ago, the Nets beat them by 8. So I think for them to be able to get this done in such impressive, dominating fashion, to me, that was a good look. And that's why I said tonight, all I can do is co-sign on the fact that you said there was pure domination, because my thing is always, I'm looking to see, I don't care what team it is. I'm just looking to see if you're giving me a full 48. Even when they lose, sometimes I'm okay with it because I saw a full 48. Tonight, it was just good to see a full 48. I did not want to see the Hawks take their feet off the brakes. And when I saw, even when you look at the box score and you see Brooklyn 35, Atlanta 30 in that fourth quarter, it wasn't so much that the Hawks took their foot off the brakes. It was just that Brooklyn was having a great night from the perimeter. And so that just fed into the fourth quarter. But I'm glad to say it wasn't so much what the Hawks didn't do on defense as opposed to what the Nets were able to do just a little bit better in the fourth quarter than they'd done throughout the game. Otherwise, it would have been an even bigger blowout. Like it 24 points was a lot, but if they hadn't come alive even more so from that 3, we would probably be talking about a 30-plus point beat down tonight. And again, we're here for that. We're absolutely here for it. But there were so many things that I liked about the domination that then showed up in the stats too, because sometimes the stats, when you dig down into them, they don't always look like they're in your favor, even in a dominating game. But I feel like in this game, they really did all fall in the Hawks' favor. Every field goal percentage, 57-40, 3-point percentage, dead even, but I'm still going to give that to you because, again, that's the one area where the Nets kind of caught fire late. That's not the Hawks' fault. It had not, to me, it didn't have anything to do with their defense.
Sure.
Nets kept shooting, point blank, period. From the free throw line, hey, if we're going to suck, at least they suck too. So, hey, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. But rebounding, they definitely had the edge, 51-41. And I like the fact that they said, hey, we may not have as many opportunities for second chance points as we'd like, but we're going to make sure you don't. So they out rebound the Nets 44-31. And even when you look at the total turnovers, do we like 15 turnovers? No. But if you're going to get 15 turnovers, I'm fairly okay with you conceding 18 points.
Yeah.
That, to me, that's not a lot relative to what you and I saw.
Sure.
Against the Magic.
Yeah.
So that's also when we're looking down into the box score, we're also seeing, okay, when you do make those mistakes, how do you course correct? And I think that's a good course correct when you don't allow the other team to double up on the turnovers with the points that you concede. And then, of course, goes back to what we were saying earlier. They literally set the tone with fast break points and points in the paint. And I really like the fact that this was a well-balanced game because we're having a conversation about points in the paint outdoing the Nets 66-24. And yet we're also talking about the Hawks having an incredible night outside. So I love the fact that they played that inside out game. I love the fact that we saw them going 94 feet, doing their thing at both ends of the court. I just thought it was, like you said, I would have to think long and hard for a game this season.
Yeah.
That was more impressive no matter the competition.
Yeah, no question. I mean, listen, I think the main thing was when we went through a little brief preview of this game the other night following up the Orlando game, the conversation that we had when you asked what they need to do, I said, I hope that they come out and they take this personal. I hope that they take this very serious. I hope they take it personal. I feel like they have to have an approach and a mentality to go out there and dominate the competition. And that's what it did. And guess what? I wore this shirt for a reason. Tomorrow starts today because that was kind of like the mentality that they had to have. They know what they had to do. And then games like this can give you some confidence with going forward. It's a really good, feel good game. Probably the best that they have felt in a long time. Even during other wins, it probably just didn't feel as good as this one. It looked like, again, like everybody was in sync. It kind of felt almost as if they were accidentally making shots is what it kind of felt like, that they were just so hot sometimes. And just a couple little key things before, that we cut out is that, when you open up the game on a 10-0 run, and then, of course, Risacher at that time, I think had 6 of that 10. And then that, equates into a 20-4 run.
Yes.
You kind of felt like you knew what type of night it was going to be. Some of the things I thought they really had to do if they wanted to come out with a win was kind of contain Nicholas Claxton, big piece of, that Georgia team where he went to school at that time. But just his activity around the rim and being the rim runner and the cleanup man and keeping him off the glass was so key. 7 points and 2 rebounds. I don't know the last time that he only had 2 rebounds in the amount of minutes that he has played. But it's rare. He is a rebounding machine. Nicholas Claxton. And then, again, I thought that they needed to kind of take advantage of not having players like Cam Johnson, who is a scoring machine in his own right. And then obviously get out and play with pace. I heard different people, especially on the broadcast, Dominique and talking about getting out and play with pace. I think we also heard Larry Nance say that the team has to play in the open floor in transition with pace to be successful, and find a way to kind of speed up the Brooklyn Nets, because the Brooklyn Nets are the 28th, I guess, best or worst team, I guess, in the league in terms of pace and defending the pace. So I think that the Hawks pretty much covered all their bases and checked all their, boxes, and dotted every I, crossed every T, even made sure that they were dotting the lowercase J's tonight.
Fair enough. And Robert Blackman, I got to give you credit because you called out the fact that there was no random role player tonight. There were some players off of the bench for the Brooklyn Nets that were solid, but anytime we don't have to talk about an RRP ripping the Hawks to shreds, that's a good night for us. And like we already kind of alluded to, desperation showed up tonight in a good way for the Hawks, and we'll be talking about that next. This episode of our Locked On Hawks Postcast is brought to you by TurboTax. So this is a message from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Now, it shouldn't be this way for you at this point, but maybe it is this way for you. Maybe your taxes are waiting, you're waiting, and you're wondering and you're worrying if you're going to get any money back because maybe you have not filed for whatever reason on April 10th. But then waiting, wondering, and worrying more and more and more has to stress you out. But taxes, if you're matching with a TurboTax expert, then you can get your taxes done as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is taxes, so get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live, full service, real-time updates, only an iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. This episode of our Locked On Hawks Postcast is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Prize Picks keeps every game exciting. So this week, you can pick Aaron Judge for more than 1 home run, Shohei Ohtani for more than 1 stolen base. It's that easy. Setting up a lineup takes less than 60 seconds, and when you win, your payout is quick, safe, and secure. Always take advantage of Taco Tuesday. That's pretty cool promo when Prize Picks offers discounts on select player projections for even more value. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks helps you to run your game.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Oh, yeah, DeShaun, desperation showed up tonight. We were both disappointed, and I was probably feeling a little bit some type of way on what I saw in the effort for the Hawks until late in the game when it was just too late to win against Orlando. I felt like the sense of urgency just wasn't there. And that was frustrating for me because I couldn't understand how a team that had the opportunity to be in the 7th spot, which the Hawks have never been in the 7th spot in the play-in round, if I'm remembering correctly. So the opportunity to be in that spot where you can host a game and you get 2 shots at being able to make the first round of the playoffs, why are you not operating with more of a sense of urgency? Well, tonight, I saw the sense of urgency. Tonight, I saw the desperation. I saw understanding that we have got to get to make sure that we at least are in the 8th spot so we get 2 cracks at this thing, meaning an opportunity to go to the real postseason, if you will. It was good for me. It was what I'm happy to be talking about because you are desperate. I mean, at the end of the day, you were in control and all while Orlando was over here swooning and just lingering in some abyss. And all of a sudden, they wake up and then you fall in the abyss. So yeah, you kind of fell in the abyss and you're in a desperate situation. And I think tonight it looks like everybody from the starters to the to the end of the bench understood that and actually embraced it.
I'll say this much, Tenitra. I think that in some ways that game or a conversation was being had amongst the players as treating the Orlando game like addition by subtraction. Like getting the guy, knowing that if you don't get your act together, it could be just that fast that this can be taken away from you. It can be that you maybe didn't learn your lesson from, I can't use that word on here, from just going half speed. Let's just put it that way. And then you end up taking that into, you end up winning that game and not learning your lesson. So now you're taking that into the postseason play, and now you're forced to learn your lesson at the wrong time. Kind of thing. So I think that it was in its own little way, and I know some of that probably didn't make a lot of sense. It did in my own mind anyway.
Yeah, but, I hear you.
I just feel like it was more like a wake up. Like if there was like a good game to lose kind of thing, then it was that game, because not only that, but it was probably the biggest wake up because of the fact that that's probably who you're going to be playing in the play-in to be able to secure, the 7th seed. So I thought that all of that was just very important. Now, of course, we don't want to get beside ourselves. We're not throwing a parade going down Peachtree. We know that, the worst thing that can happen is after playing the game that they played on tonight, you turn around tomorrow against Philly and lay an egg because you're just way too overconfident. You have to be going, and I know that we're not previewing the game, but I just think that you have to have real balance behind what you do with tonight's game. You have to let it give you some confidence, but you also have to know that you did what you were supposed to do and go into the game tomorrow against Philly with the mindset that tonight did not happen, and that and that you have Orlando on your mind, treating them like they are the Orlando Magic. I think that's ultimately the kind of mentality. So no, I just think that with where they're at in terms of the seeding, you talked the other night about controlling your own destiny. And they had, and I'm not saying it's too late, but they had their opportunities to do that.
Sure.
And just the same way that Orlando did. And Orlando took care of business on back-to-back nights, and Atlanta didn't. Atlanta got a chance to make up for that, but you also can't be messing around and playing around, because you're literally now coming into this game. You were a half a game ahead of Chicago, who's in 9th, a game and a half ahead of Miami, who's in 10th. While you're very much focused on being on the heels of Orlando, don't forget that you have people on your heels as well, and you haven't secured your spot yet. So I think you just have to, the elephant in the room word for me on tonight and going into the next game is just to kind of primarily stay focused and make sure that you're balanced.
Yeah. And I think for me, the one thing that I like that you talked about was the balance. From a different perspective, though, I would say just everybody, with the exception of Keaton Wallace, but he only played 3 minutes, but everyone else scored. But I think the fact that pretty much everyone who suited up got in the game in some way, shape, or form, I think that's a good look as well, because nobody had to play 48 minutes for this outcome, right? Zaccharie Risacher, and probably because he was just on a straight tear, he played the most minutes. He played 35 tonight, but you literally had your starters playing somewhere between 28 and 35 minutes. And then you got some good minutes, some quality minutes from Georges Niang, 19 minutes in the game, Karis LeVert, 20, Terrence Mann, 25, and they all scored. I mean, Karis only had 4 points, but still nice assist night from him, by the way. But as far as Niang and Mann getting you some double-digit points there, even beat Krejci just short of getting you double-digit points with 9. I think that's important too, because DeShaun, that kind of balance can suit you well when you go into that play-in round, because you're not taxing your guys nearly as much as maybe you need to, because this is one of those where the Hawks likely won't be able to sit any starters outright in these final 2 games of the season. So at least if you can get some balance tonight, get everybody an opportunity to touch the ball, get everybody involved in the offense, and make sure everybody's understanding the approach that you're going to take going into the postseason. I also like that approach for a game to be as balanced as what we saw tonight. But let me tell you, there's one guy had absolutely no balance because he was out here absolutely destroying everything moving. So no, it wasn't a balanced attack for him, but guess what it worked for? It worked for the Hawks. And I think on low key, DeShaun, I think it might work for this guy in another space. And we're going to talk about that when we get back. This episode of our Locked On Hawks Postcast is brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass. Every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. And here are a few ways you can take advantage of the deal. After an epic 50-point performance, celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door. Or late night cravings, I am the poster child for that. Whether you're staying up watching highlights or just need a midnight snack, use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. So sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off and order the next day up to $10 off. So that offer is exclusive to Dash Pass members. So make sure you know that you are a Dash Pass member by making sure your account is also active. And don't forget that with this, you need to use promo code NBA50 to redeem. Again, that's promo code NBA50 to redeem so that you, like me, can get your midnight stack on with Dash Pass. Visit DoorDash to learn more.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Well, DeShaun, when you're out there doing things that AI did, that is pretty impressive. And no, I am not talking about AI as in the technology AI. I'm talking about the original AI, Allen Iverson, just being able to be in the same sentence as he is. That's Zaccharie Risacher, doing things that Allen Iverson did in his rookie season, multiple games of 30 points and 5 rebounds. That's the kind of games that Allen Iverson was having. That's the kind of game we've seen Zaccharie Risacher have multiple times this year. And I don't know, the kid must like New York because he went off on the Knicks for 33. And tonight he went off on the Brooklyn Nets for 38. And that's one of the reasons, just one of the reasons why he's our player of the game.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier in the other segment about, not being able to like miss on purpose. That was Zaccharie Risacher on tonight, the way that he was putting the ball in the hoop and just running. I've constantly been telling people and talking to people about how well he moves without the basketball, elite movement, getting up and down the floor. Yeah. All of these weren't jump shots. I know a lot of the jump shots were just falling for him. It just feels like I always say throwing a rock in the ocean from the boat. Like there's just no way that he could hit anything except for water. And I know that had to feel good and giving him some motivation, giving him a confidence boost, as we always talk about him still growing, developing as a player and developing his body, obviously getting stronger, being one of those things that are very important too. But no, he just had a phenomenal night. And again, I will always and forever die on this hill and be the person to always look silly and raise my hand in the air and say, I didn't see this coming. To say that I wasn't in love with this pick. I didn't know a lot about it, but as much as I knew about it, I wasn't a big fan of it. But no, I just watching his game, I just think how smooth it is and just doesn't try to go out there and do things. Like you could tell the things that he does, he works hard on practicing those things. Yeah. Some of those things aren't all just God-given abilities. Everybody doesn't have that. He looks like he's working on his game consistently. by the way, I know you mentioned the AI thing. That AI didn't stand for artificial intelligence, nor did it stand for Andre Iguodala. Just thought I'd mention that and throw that in there too. But no, I mean, the dude is smooth, and dare I say, and I want to know where you stand on this, and maybe even those of you out there who are following us on social media, on Twitter, and maybe even perhaps in the comment section. It really looked like he was maybe not really far away, but a couple steps, not just one or two, but a few steps behind Stephon Castle for Rookie of the Year. It looks like he's really kind of pushing right up on that edge now. How far do you think we are from actually potentially end up calling him like the Rookie of the Year, and maybe we'll have Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season?
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's a very interesting concept. I probably will say I feel like it maybe is more likely that we'll see Defensive Player of the Year, because I think Zaccharie Risacher has done an amazing job, like you said, of closing the gap. Only rookie this season with at least 4 20-point halves. And the impressive part is I don't think any of those halves were ones where he forced it.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever shot he was given, he took advantage of it. And I love the evolution of his game, whereas I think Stephon Castle just kind of came out of the gates. He came out hot.
He came ready.
He came ready. But this guy, I think it's impressive what he's been able to do in getting to there.
Yeah.
So I do believe he closed the gap. I know it's been some years between now and what was that back in was it Jason Kidd and Grant Hill? Were they the last two co-rookies?
Yeah, 90.
So we're talking about what, 94, 95?
Look at you. Yeah. Look at Tenitra in her bag. My girl in her bag.
Yes, man. So yeah, it's like we haven't seen that in a while. That tells you it's rare that you see rookies playing this at this high of a level, like two of them. But for me, man, I sure wish this was a year where we would see co-rookies of the year again. And I'm not just saying that because we cover the Hawks. I'm saying that because one guy, yes, he came out of the gates hot and he's been consistent, but he's leveled off just a little bit. Yeah. The guy came out pretty even, and all of a sudden his shot through. And I don't know. I wish that both of them could get a world of credit for what they did. But I certainly think that Zaccharie Risacher has made more than enough of an argument to even pull it himself.
And I feel like Zaccharie Risacher, when he has his nights, like those nights that are his nights, and it's clear that they're not going to be nobody else's night, they're just going to be his, it just feels like his contribution is just more impactful. Than what Castle was doing. And make no mistake, Castle was a phenomenal basketball player. He's been pretty consistent all year long. Georgia kid and everything else, and love him and all that good stuff.
No question.
But it just seems like Zaccharie Risacher, like when he goes off, he goes TF off. He takes it to that level. He really has you thinking about, like, did the Hawks the Hawks saw something in that number one pick, like
they got it right.
That they got it right.
No, say it, DeShaun. Say it with me. They got it right. Right.
They got it right. And you can't always, let's just full transparency. We haven't always been able to say that about some of these draft picks, whether it be the Sheldons, whether it be the Marvins. I joked on draft night and said, this kid, his last name must be Williams. The way that they're going, that they're so high on this kid. His last name can't be Risacher. It must be Williams, as much as they love those Williams guys, Marvins and Sheldon. But no, seriously, but I every time you see him and he has one of these types of games, and I don't want to get away from the fact when he doesn't have great games. And we know times you're going to hit rookie walls. You're not going to hit for 30-something every single night. But this is, I'm not going to say unheard of, but this is not a thing that happens often. You just brought up a name, Allen Iverson. That's a guy we're walking around right now wearing a gold jacket.
Yep.
And right now, as far as I'm concerned, even in comparison to this, and I'll finish up here for this Rookie of the Year race, closing in a little bit on Castle, This 38-point performance, which is now his new career high, is the most points by any rookie this season, by the way. So I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Oh yeah, he's putting in crazy work, and I am excited because I was having a conversation after a meeting tonight, and the guy was asking me my thoughts, and I said, yeah, I said this is a town that still struggles, a team that still struggles, a franchise that still struggles to get top end free agents, but I hope that can change if they can just get one guy, because I don't think the Hawks are very far. Like, I think there could be 2 or 3 players, maybe they're 2 players away, because I'm not considering Jalen Johnson in that conversation. He's already here, but maybe they're 2 players away, because you do have Jalen Johnson, which I do think he's going to come back playing at an even higher level. You have Trae Young, and Zaccharie Risacher can only get better, and Onyeka Okongwu has gotten better. So I feel like if you can just get one more guy, maybe, I mean, 2 would be nice. And Dyson Daniels is doing his darn thing too. Let me not
no question.
Yeah, let me not gloss over what he has done.
Tenitra, 10 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. We've been talking about him flirting with almost triple doubles every night, like flirting.
Every game, win or lose, he's gonna be in the conversation of a guy that has played a full-on game and 3 steals. Still did his Dyson.
We take that for granted, or not take it for granted, but we've just gotten really accustomed to it. Yeah, he's just gotten accustomed to it. And it's like, there goes Dyson Daniels with the steals again, kind of thing,
Yep, you gotta, So I think that when you look at it, and I didn't know what to think as well about Zaccharie Risacher, but when you look at what the Hawks have gotten from him, what an absolute pleasant surprise. But hey, the Hawks are on 95 south of the Turnpike somewhere, making their way from Brooklyn down to Philly, because they've got to turn it back around and go up against the Philadelphia 76ers in a game that they still need to take so that they can go ahead and wrap up that number 8 seed rather in the East. And of course, be able to get in that 8 seed, which is an all important seed when you're playing in that play-in tournament, just puts you in some different you have 2 shots essentially to make it into the true postseason. Locked On Sports Atlanta is the #1 place to hang out after every game. Remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And for more on the Hawks, check out Locked On Hawks with our guy, Brad Rowland. We will see you next time.